Hey everyone, I'm Grant and welcome back to the channel. First off, I want to apologize for about the 5-month hiatus. Things in my life have just been very, very busy. It hasn't been bad, it hasn't necessarily been good, it's just been busy. But that being said, I have been working on my diesel swap since the last video, which I believe came out in January, but I actually filmed it in December. So the big thing I think I have finally now solved is the cooling system. And I do want to say, I started filming throughout February, March, and April trying to fix the cooling system. And it kept fighting me so much that for the first time since I started doing this swap, I stopped filming. I was so fed up with the cooling system that anyone that has tried filming what you're doing with car work or done anything for YouTube knows filming extends the time that everything takes. Minimum double, sometimes triple, because you want to make sure you got the right shot, all the framing and all that stuff. So for the first time since I started doing this swap, I just stopped filming because I wanted to figure out the cooling system because it was just driving me crazy. And I finally did figure it out. And it was actually, I think you might be able to see this, and I'll put a picture on screen if you can't. But there is a hose that I ended up having to reroute. It's the steam port on the back side of the head of the BEW TDI. I was routing that the wrong way. And in between routing that hose the wrong way and not bleeding the cooling system correctly, I was constantly fighting huge air pockets in my cooling loop. So it's now all fixed. I've rerouted the cooling system again, but it now seems to be cooling correctly. The other thing I did was the registration on this Wrangler ran out in December, so I also had to get it inspected again in the state that I live in. And that was a little bit difficult because of said cooling issues. So the cooling system now seems to be stable. It has been inspected. I have another license plate coming for it because I had to get a temporary plate so I could go to get it inspected, but because I got the temporary plate, the state deactivated my old plate, and it's just become this whole kind of, because you did this, this happened, so now you have to wait for this to happen, and it's just been kind of comical at this point. That being said, I have been doing some other testing with this setup. This will do 70 miles per hour. And I'm really impressed with it. The downside is this thing is ridiculously loud at anything over about 55 miles per hour, even with the windows up. So I'm now having to look at how can I make this a lot quieter, because right now you have to wear hearing protection to drive this at any speed over 55. And I'll be going over that in upcoming videos. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at now. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and preview what's coming up in my next video. Give me a sec. This is what I'm going to be working on in my next video. Now, I already have an intercooler mounted in the front grille of my right-hand drive TJ Wrangler. And I was watching some other content in the past couple of months, and I saw this thing where they basically did a segment where you really need an intercooler that has an inlet and outlet and a flow rating designed for your application. I just bought the biggest intercooler I could fit into my front grille, and it works, but the inlet and outlet are 2.5 inch. The inlets and outlets on my setup are 2 inch. So I'm necking down, no, I'm increasing the size going into my intercooler. But when I exit my intercooler, I'm going from 2.5 immediately to 2 inch. And I think it might be causing some turbulence in my boost piping. The other thing I'm not a fan of are the intakes on the intercooler that I currently have installed are massive. And the actual intercooler section itself isn't all that big. So I have been scouring eBay and different websites for months. I finally found this intercooler. It looks very similar to my current intercooler, except the inlet and outlet are 2 inch versus 2.5 inch, and the intakes are much smaller. The intakes on this intercooler are massive, and it's blocking a lot of airflow to the radiator. The other thing is the actual intercooler section itself is smaller than this one. So in the next video, I am going to be replacing the intercooler, and when I do that, I'll also show you all the modifications that I did to my cooling system, because I'm going to have to take the entire front grille off anyway, so it's a good time to do it. But the intercooler section itself on this setup is much taller, and it's not as compact, if that makes sense, meaning how tightly these fins are to each other compared to the intercooler that I have installed now. And my hope is between those two differences in designs, this not only will allow more air into the radiator, but because I'm not changing the size of the piping going in and out of the intercooler, I should get better flow into my engine as well. Now that's only part one of what I'm doing. The other problem that I've always known that I've had on this setup is I think my exhaust is a little bit too small. Currently I'm running 2¼ inch. I am looking at upgrading the entire exhaust system on this to 2½ inch so the entire system can breathe much better. But anyway, I just wanted to do a semi one take update on what's going on in the channel. I don't know when I'm going to get back to regular video updates, but especially during summer and early fall, I am going to be posting periodically a couple of updates. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again sometime soon. Goodbye.